Tells Toronto, the Neat brothers. Hola.
News now, Vancouver police are investigating an alleged kidnapping, putting out surveillance video of the victim that they want you to see.
Officers say they're looking for Abdul Qadir Handoli.
They found a deceased male whose identity has now been confirmed as Farah Persay Handuli.
You from a block that I ain't never heard of. Try to play with me, it's gonna be a bloody murder. I'm switching gears, but you know I gotta keep my burn. I don't wanna flex, little bitch. I'm the biggest.
Welcome to the party, whoever just joined. Yo, that's what I was talking about, bro. Like, I just seen this in the last one. I be feeling like, matter of fact, I'm gonna just keep my opinions.
The story of the Neat brothers begins in war-torn Somalia in the mid-1990s, where their parents immigrated from as convention refugees. In the IRCA, the author notes that thousands of Somalis have migrated to Canada since the mid-1980s to escape human rights abuses under the governing regime, as well as the civil war that ensued after the regime fell in 1991. With their home country in turmoil, the parents of the Neat brothers arrived to Toronto for a fresh start, but sadly, their troubles were just beginning.
Police say at 11:50 this morning, a dark SUV pulled up to this TCH complex at Shoreham Court. Two males allegedly got out of the vehicle, ran up to a wooden fence, and fired between 4 and 6 shots into a backyard where Kahim and his friends were standing.
Investigators say a man was waiting at a bus stop on Jane Street near Driftwood Avenue just after 3 this afternoon when he was approached by the suspect and shot 3 times.
This double homicide happened about an hour after 2 other shootings just around the corner. Police say 2 men fired a number of shots at a teenage boy just south of the Jane Finch Mall at Driftwood Court and Venetian Crescent.
After escaping war-torn Somalia, the Neat family landed in Driftwood Court, a tough racialized community located in the north side of Jane and Finch, otherwise known as Up Top. The block became notorious for its predominance of drug use, criminal activity, and more recently, gang violence. From the Young Buck Killers to the G-Siders and the most notorious crew of them all, the Driftwood Crips, Up Top became infested with gangs donning the blue flag, many of which can be dated as early as the 90s. Factors such as lack of social services, recreational facilities, and overcrowded schools are a few of the reasons for the increased crime in the community. Growing up in Driftwood raised unique challenges for the Neat brothers and their 6 siblings. From a young age, 21 Neat reported several shootings in the vicinity of his home, the first one occurring when he was just 11 years old. The violence got so bad, his family would sometimes travel to the United States to stay with cousins in order to have a break from the violence in Toronto. Things didn't get any better for the Neat brothers when their father would become absent from their lives once they reached their teens. With 21 Neat being the eldest son, he took it upon himself to take care of his now single mother and his 7 siblings. After graduating from high school, he worked in construction, carpentry, and general labor as an apprentice, giving much of his salary to his mother. 21 Neat was on a steady path, but having to financially support himself and his 7 siblings became far too much for him to handle. Fortunately, by 2014, he would see a glimpse of hope when several of his friends from the Driftwood community started to gain traction in Toronto's burgeoning rap scene. From Robin Banks to Pressa to the Tall Up Twins, some have regarded Up Top as the GOAT factory due to how many talented artists were bred from the notorious block. The Neat brothers were often featured in the music videos for some of their biggest hits, but it doesn't appear either of them hopped into the studio right away, probably because they were too busy dealing with the feds. Legal trouble for the Neat brothers began with 22 Neat. On March 3, 2016, a home invasion robbery took place at a unit on 11 Shoreham Court, which housed a couple and their 2 young children. At approximately 10:30 p.m., the father was standing outside the rear door of his home, smoking a cigarette when he was accosted by 3 men. The father testified that a gun was pointed at him by one of the men while a second man displayed a larger gun which he held under his coat. The robbers demanded $10 and subsequently pushed the victim into his residence. 2 of the 3 assailants entered the...
Ain't no way. Ain't no way the robbers demand $10. Niggas backed out the 30 on something for $10. You lying to me.
The second man displayed a larger gun which he held under his coat. The robbers demanded $10 and subsequently pushed the victim into his residence. 2 of the 3 assailants entered the home while the third...
Them some different kind of bum ass niggas right here. Yeah, they some different kind of bum ass niggas right here. 10 cash?
stood outside by their door. One of the assailants demanded a further $100 from the victims. A gun was then pointed at the victim's wife, who complied with the demand and turned over the money. As if the money wasn't enough, the assailants went out of their way to steal 6 containers of chocolate milk from the kitchen.
This is, yo, you can't make this shit up. That show, these niggas robbed a crib for chocolate milk, $10. These niggas robbed the crib for chocolate milk, $10. They say, you know what, matter of fact, give me 100. Instead of the 10, give me 100. There's a different kind of bum ass, dirty niggas right here. Yeah, they different. I ain't never heard that like this. Check them out, Ezra.
Under his coat. The robbers demanded $10 and subsequently pushed the victim into his residence. 2 of the 3 assailants entered the home while the third stood outside by their door. One of the assailants demanded a further $100 from the victims.
He said, nah, I need 100. Fuck that. 10 ain't enough.
A gun was then pointed at the victim's wife, who complied with the demand and turned over the money. As if the money wasn't enough, the assailants went out of their way to steal 6 containers of chocolate milk from the kitchen. One of the gunmen then ran upstairs to look for jewelry, which terrified the couple as their children were sleeping upstairs, so the wife rushed out of the rear door of the residence to a neighbor's house for help, somehow getting by the third assailant who was standing by the doorway. Her husband followed her, and the 3 robbers subsequently fled in the opposite.
Nigga, the parents ran out the crib and left the kids in the crib. Left the kids in the crib sleeping. Look, the pops ran out too.
Rear door of the residence to a neighbor's house for help, somehow getting by the third assailant who was standing by the doorway. Her husband followed her, and the 3 robbers subsequently fled in the opposite direction and ran into another unit in the same townhouse complex. Unfortunately for the 3 men, the entire ordeal was caught on camera. So 6 hours after reviewing the camera footage, Toronto police stormed the residence the suspects escaped to and detained everyone found in the unit. Out of the 11 people detained, yes, 11, officers identified who they believed were the 3 robbers. 22 NEAT, Michael Mensah, and a 16-year-old boy who cannot be identified.
These niggas ain't homeless, nigga. That's just that these niggas must have been homeless.
Justice Act were all arrested and charged with robbery with a firearm and possession of property obtained by crime. Given the surveillance footage clearly showing the 3 perpetrators entering the unit after the robbery, officers had a more than ample basis to be suspicious of 22 NEAT and his 2 accomplices. However, the judge handling the case believed there was an absence of evidence regarding.
Niggas needed a backwood, bro. Shit real. Niggas say, y'all need a backwood, man. I'm about to book these niggas for $10.
The ins and outs of that residence from the time of the robbery until the arrests of the suspects. With the gaps in the evidence coupled with the lack of temporal connection between the arrests.
Nah, they wasn't gonna split it between 3 niggas. They was gonna get the woods and get high. Yeah, they just ain't had no money to get the wood. Pause. And the chocolate milk was for the munchies. They went in there, took the $10 they did $10 for the backwoods. They had the weed with no roll up. And they took the rest was for the munchies, the chocolate milk.
And the home invasion, the judge discharged 22 NEAT and his accomplices on all counts, but 22 NEAT's troubles with the law weren't over just yet.
The niggas out there charges drop.
Good evening. Residents along Caldwell Avenue took to the streets today, fed up with the extreme violence that's taking over their community.
A 20-year-old man gunned down in broad daylight yesterday afternoon. He died in...
This is some different kind of bum-ass shit right here. I ain't gonna lie. They some different kind of bum-ass niggas doing shit like that. And niggas was of age. It was a nigga 16, 17, and what was the other age? 19 or some shit? Come on, bro. 10 cash. Like, 10 cash, bro.
In hospital, his killers are still...
What's $10 in Canadian money? Yeah, I need to know. What's $10 in Canadian money? Somebody put me on. Yeah, what's wrong with niggas? I ain't gonna lie. 10 cash.
On the loose. The victim is identified as Hamza Sirhan. His family says this photo was taken just a few weeks ago.
Hamza Sirhan and his two siblings were born in Canada, but raised in Lebanon until 2006, when they returned to Ottawa. Hamza went to St. Patrick's High School, then transferred to Nepean High School.
Yeah, I know these niggas, I ain't gonna lie, I know these niggas dangerous. They rob a curse for $10, they definitely smoking niggas. They are definitely killing niggas, bro. They robbing niggas for 10 cash, they kill a nigga for nothing. I'm telling you.
Returned to Ottawa. Hamza went to St. Patrick's High School, then transferred to Nepean High School in grade 11. At Nepean, he excelled in rugby and basketball. A former football coach who coached Sirhan during their 2008 season for the South Ottawa Mustangs Football Association said he was a great kid with a fantastic sense of humor. Not only was Hamza gifted athletically, but also academically. He had a keen interest in science and was studying biochemistry with hopes of not only finding the cure for cancer, but becoming a surgeon. He enrolled in pre-medical courses at the University of Ottawa, but being raised in community housing, the opportunities that others had didn't come his way easily. Simply put, he struggled financially. He confided in friends that he was selling drugs to make some extra cash. Unfortunately, he became a little too successful in his drug-selling endeavors, to the point Ottawa's anti-gang police raided 2 homes, one of them belonging to his parents. At the end of the 2 raids, police seized 2 vehicles, 37.5 grams of cocaine, 6.5 grams of crack, 60 pills of a prescription painkiller, a small quantity of marijuana, and nearly $12,000 in Canadian currency and $10,000 in U.S. currency. Hamza, then 19, his 22-year-old brother Mohammed, and 3 others were all subsequently charged with possession for the purpose of trafficking and possession of the proceeds of crime. Although these charges were withdrawn by May of 2017, Hamza's goal of turning his life around would be cut short just 4 months later. On September 20th, at around 3:20 p.m., Ottawa police received multiple calls reporting shots fired at 1500 Caldwell Avenue, an Ottawa community housing property. Witnesses described the scene of the shooting as a quick altercation among a group of people that sent multiple young men fleeing and mothers running to find their nearby children. When police arrived, they found Hamza laying lifeless in front of one of the units of the housing complex. One eyewitness told the Toronto Sun, "I don't know what it was about. He wasn't doing anything, just sitting there drinking a slushie." Another eyewitness told the Sun that the gunman, a young black male, was dressed in a gray hoodie and fled north on foot. 1 month later, Ottawa police issued a warrant for 22 Neat, believing he was the gunman in the shooting, which they later described as a targeted drug-related killing. At the time, this wasn't the only warrant out for 22's arrest. He had an outstanding warrant out in Milton, Ontario, after he assaulted a peace officer, and another in Vaughan in regards to a robbery.
These all timing outside.
News of 22 Neat's trouble with the law would find its way to his brother, who became increasingly paranoid, and for good reason. According to court documents, shortly after his brother went on the run for Hamza's murder, 21 Neat was shot at 4 times within a 5-block radius. With the knowledge of his brother's gang activity, coupled with being shot at 4 times, 21 Neat purchased a firearm, moved to Calgary for a bit, then settled in Vancouver. From the following videos, it appears he spent much of his time giving back to the community, if you want to call it that.
Neat gang in the bell, dad. Neat gang, get on the get the shit. Shout out to the bro. What you want right now? Anything you want. Let's get in there. On the house. On the house. Shout out to the horse gang, yeah? Ramadan. We have to pay homage. What you want?
What you want?
Give my man whatever you want. Can you quarter pounder, hot dog? Get him dog. Rapping lyrics. Cigarettes, what kind of smoke? Paul Mall XL. On a Paul Mall XL.
Big. The neat way.
Righteous, the neat way, nigga. Bad. Let me just talk. Bro, guess what he wants. Let me get some bonbons too, regular.
His time away from Driftwood didn't last long, as he returned sometime in 2018 after his friends began to grow within Toronto's rap scene. When he returned to the city, he finally took his chances with music and released a few songs. 21 Neat's music stood out, not because of his bars or the grunginess of his music videos, but the people he featured. Appearing under the moniker 35 Neat, who is now known as YG, the rapper was arrested for attempted murder 2 months before he is now known videos, but the people he featured. Appearing under the moniker 35 Neat, who is now known as YG, the rapper was arrested for attempted murder.
He was 35 Neat before YG. 35 Neat.
2 months before he featured on the track, Money Music.
Money music on the beat, so it's neat. 40 with a dick, watch you fuck these little freaks. Number 30.
Then on the track Filthy, 22 Neat made a surprise appearance while he was actively on the run for the murder of Hamza Sirhan. He even drops a couple bars targeting rival rapper Young Lava, who was chased down and chain snatched by 21 Neat at a Toronto mall sometime in 2017.
My trap house running like Young Lava. Don't let me get the drop and send them wassels.
With Toronto's rap scene being dominated by up-top rappers all throughout 2018, 21 Neat was destined to blow, but come the Canada Day long weekend, his rise to rap stardom ended before it began. The following incident has been covered in detail in the previous video. I recommend checking it out. With that being said, I will be providing a brief summary of what happened. June 30th, 2018, Regent Park-based rapper Smoke Dawg and his friend Cobra Prime arrived at Cube nightclub to enjoy the Canada Day long weekend festivities. While there, 21 Neat showed up with 2 of his own friends, 16-year-old Keyshawn Jones, seen here in the black hoodie, and an unidentified man, seen here in the blue shirt. It is rumored days prior to the following incident, Smoke Dawg had dissed 21 Neat's close friend and fellow rapper Robin Banks, and 21 Neat wasn't happy about it. According to security working at the club, the 2 rappers engaged in a conversation which escalated to the point 21 Neat threatened to shoot Smoke Dawg, prompting club security.
That's why all this shit be feeling like this should be the same, cause it's like it's mad niggas like he just was talking about this shit. It's Smoke Dawg shit. So that's why when I seen it, I'm like, bro, he about to be talking about the same shit. But I ain't know all that other shit, so this shit is good though. That's why I do fuck with child support. Cause he do be having some, I ain't know niggas wouldn't crashed out for $10.
To kick out the Driftwood rapper. From there, 21 and his 2 accomplices left in an Uber and arrived back a few hours later. This time, 21 Neat and Keyshawn Jones were armed with handguns and ready to confront Smoke Dawg as soon as he left the club. As anticipated, the Regent Park rapper left the club with Cobra Prime for a smoke break, and from there, the argument between 21 Neat and Smoke Dawg went right back to where they left off. This time, however, it escalated to the point of no return. In the midst of the argument, 21 Neat can be seen flicking his lit cigarette at Smoke Dawg, who in return pulls out a concealed firearm and fires numerous rounds at 21 Neat. 21 Neat runs into the street for cover, fumbling his firearm in the process. He then grabs it and runs towards Smoke Dawg, who at this point began fleeing. As Smoke Dawg ran for safety, he crossed paths with Keyshawn Jones, who can be seen on camera pointing his own firearm at Smoke Dawg and firing the kill shot. 21 Neat then catches up to Smoke Dawg, who is now laying on the ground, and proceeds to fire several shots into his lifeless body. 21 Neat and his accomplices then make their escape. With how heavily surveilled the area was at the time, in addition to the numerous witnesses at the scene, it didn't take long for Toronto police to issue a
niggas ain't have no mask on or nothing. Damn. Crashed out.
Canada-wide warrant for 21 Neat and Keyshawn Jones, but the gun-toting duo had already made their escape.
They got up out of there?
After receiving countless death threats following the death of Smoke Dawg, 21 Neat fled to Vancouver for safety, where he employed himself through drug trafficking. It was a sustainable endeavor, to the point he was able to evade authorities for a year, but after one of his operations didn't go as planned, his run would finally come to an end. It all began on July 2nd, 2019, when a noted drug trafficker by the name of Arnold Hugh was tasked to collect and deliver $3,000. After receiving the money at a roadside from an unidentified male, Mr. Hugh drove to the Metro Town Mall and parked his vehicle in the parkade. By 7:40 p.m., a black Charger carrying Obinna Njoku, 21 Neat and Abdullah Abdullahi pulled up and parked beside him. Njoku remained in the driver's seat, while 21 Neat and Abdullah, both armed with handguns, got out of the Charger and pulled Mr. Hugh out of his vehicle at gunpoint. They proceeded to shove him into the Charger and drive to 4960 Sanders Street, a nearby condo. Abdullah and 21 Neat escorted Mr. Hugh to Unit 1103, while Njoku left the premises. Once inside the unit, 21 Neat took Mr. Hughes' cell phone, erased all of its contents, and began texting someone using the alias, Stay Chef In. The unidentified person he was communicating with was using the alias, Stay Neat Always. The following text conversation between the two happened mere hours after the kidnapping occurred. 21 Neat begins by saying, "I'll really wig this kid." "You mean, what are they saying to you?" Stay Neat Always then sends an attachment and says, "They gonna up it right now fam, you have to really torture the Ute or next time they not uppin'." 21 replies, "Fam, if this Ute wasn't such a good Ute, this kid's gonna rat on me after. I'd rather keep him blessed and show him I know where he lives if he rats." Stay Neat responds with, "Yeah fam, don't worry, they're not ratting on no one." 21 Neat then says, "I took a pic of his ID. Right now we didn't do nothing, so he's not gonna rat. If I hurt him, he has a reason to rat. You feel me? I would have been cooked this kid if I was masked up." Stay Neat replies, "These guys won't rat fam. They're into deep with us to rat. They're gonna up the dollars neatly." 21 Neat then says, "This kid's a good Ute fam. No cap. I seen everything on his phone. He's a gamer." CeeLo saying he's gonna up a bird on top. So 3 birds total. Each man takes a bird to the face. 3 is neat. The conversation ends with the two discussing how much money they were to gain out of the kidnapping, which was estimated at around $150,000. The next day, on July 3rd, 21 Neat and Abdullah devised a rather bizarre plan to extort money from Mr. Hughes' criminal associates. First, they stripped Mr. Hugh into his underwear, tied his arms and feet with purple twine, and had him lay in the bathtub. From there, they took several videos and pictures of Mr. Hugh in what police described as degrading positions. One video series showed Mr. Hugh in his underwear laying in the bathtub, with a gun pointed at him. A second video showed Mr. Hugh with a knife pointed at him by Abdullah and a mixture of sriracha, ketchup, and berries smeared around the bathtub. According to Mr. Hugh, 21 Neat and Abdullah wanted to make it seem like they had cut his finger off, so they concocted the mixture to use as fake blood. Another video showed Mr. Hugh laying on his stomach on the bed in the second bedroom. His feet and hands are bound with purple twine, and 21 Neat in a hoodie standing over him, pointing 2 guns at his head through a pillow. The last video showed Mr. Hugh crying as he recited a memory about his grandmother. The content was later forwarded to Stay Neat Always. Then, during the early hours of July 4th, Obinna arrived to Unit 1103 and briefly spoke with 21 Neat and Abdullah. They began making plans to release Mr. Hugh. However, police were already tipped off about what was going on and began organizing their own plan to take down the kidnapping trio. Efforts to save Mr. Hugh began noon on July 4th, with multiple snipers making their way to the rooftop of 6175 Nelson Street, a building adjacent to 4960 Sanders Street. The snipers were positioned to observe and photograph the condo. From their elevated position, the snipers were able to see 21 Neat, Abdullah, and Obinna communicating with each other on the balcony of Unit 1103. The snipers surveilled the 3 men for a little over 9 hours until ground officers began executing a raid on the unit. At 10:20 p.m., police began placing an explosive breach at the front door of the unit when unexpectedly, Abdullah opened the door, looked into the hallway, saw the police, and retreated into the unit, locking the door behind him. After detonating a noise device, the police entered the unit and found Mr. Hugh located in a bedroom laying on the floor, but the kidnapping trio were nowhere to be found. That's because all 3 men climbed over the balcony of the unit as a last-ditch attempt to evade police. The snipers, still stationed at the rooftop of the adjacent building, witnessed 21 Neat scaling the exterior of the building, traversing from the 11th floor all the way down to the balcony of the 5th floor. Based on these observations, a number of police officers went to Unit 503, where they arrested 21 Neat, who was found laying on his stomach on the balcony. About 2 to 3 inches from his feet was a loaded semi-automatic Glock and nearly $1,500 in cash. As 21 Neat was scaling down to the 5th floor balcony, the snipers also saw Obinna jumping over the balcony of Unit 1103 and onto the balcony of the unit right below him where the building property manager happened to be. Obinna then broke the glass of the balcony door, walked past the property manager, and uttered the word police to him. Obinna then headed for a staircase where numerous residents were being evacuated through. He then picked up a little girl he did not know, much to the dismay of her mother, and attempted to mingle with other residents to appear inconspicuous. After a few seconds, he handed the little girl over to her mother and made his way down to the lobby of the building, where he was apprehended by members of the emergency response breach team. The last person to be captured was Abdullah, because when he climbed over the balcony of Unit 1103, he slipped and fell into a bush. Police were unable to locate him until 10:25 p.m. when they found him in the bush severely injured. He was given medical assistance and taken to the hospital by ambulance.
Nigga slipped off the 11th floor. It's crazy. Niggas ain't know where that nigga went.
Where he remained for the next 2 months. With the trio now in custody,
he couldn't even move. He couldn't even bust a move. That nigga was nervous. He slipped and fell.
Police conducted an extensive search of Unit 1103. Officers recovered a Desert Eagle semi-automatic firearm in the kitchen wrapped in plastic bags and the purple twine used to tie up Mr. Hugh, both of which contained 21 Neat's fingerprints. 21 Neat was subsequently charged with forcible confinement, kidnapping, and 2 counts of second-degree murder in relation to the deaths of Smoke Dog and Cobra Prime. Abdullah and Obinna were both charged with forcible confinement and kidnapping.
Some very tense moments, Sophie, when residents heard a loud bang. One told us he could hear police yelling, "Stop resisting arrest." And another woman living on the first floor of this tower looked out to see the man who survived that 11-story fall.
Probably 10 to a dozen firefighters and paramedics working on this guy, like he was lying there where those leaves are strewn about.
This all unfolded after RCMP descended on this Burnaby apartment high-rise, responding to a report of a kidnapping and hostage situation. Moments before, people say there were police everywhere.
There was like 15 to 20 fully uniformed military, like assault rifle carrying people in our garage.
There was chaos going on then, and then they started to shout, "Get down on the floor, get out, or get down, get down."
I just grabbed my baby and I just ran out of the house.
Several residents say they heard a loud bang just before the man fell from the balcony.
There's some sort of police explosion flash that they used to shock whoever was inside the unit.
Members of the emergency response team then entered a suite on the 11th floor where 3 suspects were inside.
It is reported that they observed 3 persons exiting the apartment by way of the balcony. 2 of those individuals were soon thereafter apprehended, but one fell to the ground and was seriously harmed.
The man who fell landed in this bush and was then taken to hospital. The other 2 somehow got back inside the building.
When I opened the door a few minutes after to see the safe come out, there's 4 police officers and like SWAT guys kneeling on somebody.
Burnaby RCMP are continuing to investigate the kidnapping. The IIO was called in to investigate if any actions by police led to the suspect's injuries.
As 21 Neat was in custody, his brother 22 would still be on the run, but after 27 months, his race came to an end on Boxing Day in 2019. According to Calgary police and those who knew him, he spent much of his time on the run in Minnesota until he decided to travel to Calgary for unknown reasons on December 24th, 2019. Fast forward 2 days later on December 26th, 22 Neat made his way to a pub. According to Vern McCarty, a man who was smoking a cigarette near the pub, he saw 22 Neat leave the establishment and walk by a store. As he was walking, another man exited the store and locked eyes with 22 Neat. From about 30 meters away, McCarty said he could almost feel the fear of 22 Neat, who seemed to immediately recognize the other man and the danger he posed. They looked at each other and the guy from the pub started running. He knew as soon as he saw him, he was in trouble, said McCarty. A foot chase ensued eastward across Home Road before bullets started flying. 22 Neat managed to make his way in front of a liquor store where he collapsed and died from the bullet wounds he sustained.
The public will help them catch whoever did this. About an hour ago, we learned the name of the man who was killed. He is 23-year-old Farah Handul of Ontario. Police believe that he'd only been in Calgary since December 24th. Now, it all started to happen last night around 9 o'clock. Police called out to the area of 16th Avenue and Home Road in the Northwest after witnesses reported seeing people shooting at each other. When officers arrived, they found the body of a man lying in the middle of the westbound lanes of 16th Avenue, only feet from where I'm standing right now. The man was pronounced dead at the scene.
On January 6, 2020, Calgary police located a man they believed was connected to the murder of 22 NEET. 24-year-old Mohammed Hussein Ahmed was located Saturday in Ontario and was taken into custody on an impression warrant. With officers unable to find the firearm used in the killing, coupled with the lack of updates on the case, this leaves me to believe Mohammed was not convicted, but when it came to 21 NEET's murder case, it was a much different result. On July 21, 2022, an Ontario Superior Court judge sentenced 21 NEET to life in prison with no chance of parole for 20 years for the murders of Smoke Dog and Cobra Prime. In a brief statement, 21 addressed the courtroom and apologized to the victims' families who were in attendance at his sentencing hearing. I regret their deaths, and I wish I could take them back. I feel the pain in their loved ones' voices, and I am very sorry. According to those present in court,
that's how you do that. That's how you show that right compassion. You feel me? You feel me? That's how you look good at that parole board. Yeah. That's how you look good at that parole board. Get up out of there.
He was very emotional and at one point crying. Then came the kidnapping trial.
He's out. He's getting out.
The victim, Arnold Hugh, provided very questionable testimonies throughout the trial. He refused to provide the names of his criminal associates and vaguely remembered the details of his kidnapping ordeal. Inevitably, this changed the outcome of the case. Originally charged with kidnapping and forcible confinement, Obinna Njoku was acquitted of all charges despite transporting the victim to the condo where he was held captive for 3 days. Even the fact that he had picked up a little girl in an attempt to evade police did not tip the scales against him. Apparently, the Superior Court Justice accepted his explanation that he had picked her up in an attempt to help her down the stairs. Njoku's conduct with respect to the little girl was shocking, the Superior Court Justice said. Based on my observations of Njoku on the video in the lobby and the testimony of the building manager as well as the little girl's parents, I have no difficulty finding that Njoku frightened her parents. It was not an act of altruism but was a bold effort by Njoku to escape detection. That said, I am not satisfied that the evidence of his attempt to evade police tips the balance to found proof beyond a reasonable doubt. The Superior Court Justice then concluded his involvement had been limited and, at some point, 21 NEET and Abdullah had even turned on him. And so, Obinna Njoku was acquitted of all charges. Next up was Abdullah. The 32-year-old sustained life-altering injuries after falling from the 11th floor balcony. Because of a spinal cord injury, he now needs a cane, has to wake up every 2 hours due to his inability to control his bowel and bladder, and needs his spouse's help to shave, shower, and dress. He also suffers from post-traumatic stress disorder. There is no doubt that his injuries are debilitating and lifelong, the Superior Court Justice said. With Abdullah's crippling health conditions, coupled with the victim's questionable testimonies, Abdullah was found guilty of the lesser charge, unlawful confinement. He was sentenced to 2 years and subject to house arrest for the last 12 months of his sentence. Lastly, 21 NEET was also found guilty of the lesser charge of unlawful confinement. He was sentenced to 6 years, which will run parallel with his life sentence.
He'll be home soon. Shit. Nah, they was wild. Shout out child support. That was a good doc.